Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to uncover the absolutely mind-blowing biological mechanism of how our physical brains actually get over trauma. I mean, have you ever really stopped to wonder what physically happens inside your head when you finally conquer a phobia? Or, when you move past a really painful memory? Today, we're diving into a groundbreaking study from Nature Neuroscience that literally shifts everything we thought we knew about how the brain heals itself. Okay, let's just dive right into this fascinating mystery. We all know we can overcome our fears, right? But how does the actual physical meat of your brain accomplish this unlearning? Think about it. If you were terrified of the dark as a kid, but you aren't anymore, where did that fear actually go? Did it just evaporate? Well, as we'll see, your brain actually has a highly active, highly physical cleanup crew totally dedicated to this exact job.
To really get this, we first need to understand something called an engram. You can basically think of an engram as a physical memory file. It's a specific network of cells that holds on to a fear. So when a traumatic event happens, a specific group of neurons fires together and wires together. This unique little ensemble becomes the physical trace of your memory. And whenever you're reminded of that trauma, boom, this exact memory file, the engram, gets reactivated.
All right, moving into section 1, how we unlearn fear. Let's see how this works. Scientists can actually map out how we process these fearful memory files in real time. Imagine a mouse that learns to associate a specific box with a mild, scary event. An engram is formed. But when that mouse is placed back in the exact same box repeatedly without anything bad happening, it learns that the environment is actually safe now. The neurons stop firing so aggressively, the freezing stops, and the fear is what we call extinguished. That brings us to section 2, meet the brain's gardeners. Now, what physically causes that engram to quiet down inside the adult brain? Is the memory file just running out of battery? No way. Meet the unlikely heroes of our story, microglia. These are immune cells, specifically yolk sac-derived immune cells that actually make up about 5 to 10% of all the cells in your central nervous system. For the longest time, we thought of them purely as the brain's ambulance chasers, right? Just immune cells that only respond to infections or injuries. But actually, they act as highly dynamic cellular gardeners. They constantly survey their environment, interacting with neurons to keep the brain's circuits healthy and functioning. Which leads us to section 3, the temporary shush effect. These microglial heroes basically fight against fear using a really clever two-step battle plan. During extinction learning, when the mouse is realizing it's safe, these microglia are rapidly recruited directly to the fear engram neurons. This happens in a region of the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, called the dentate gyrus. They actually sense the high activity of the fear response and immediately move in to intervene. First, they rush straight to the neuron's soma, which is the main cell body, basically the control room of the neuron. They do this to initiate a temporary reversible shush that suppresses the fear activity. They physically wrap around the control room of the cell. By interacting with the soma, the microglia basically put a muffler on the alarm system, immediately dampening the panic. The study specifically notes that interactions between microglia and somata mediate transient silencing of engram neurons. What that really means is this interaction is completely experience-dependent. It acts as a rapid external break to quiet down the panic. Transient is the absolutely key word here. It's a quick fix. If the mouse doesn't keep getting safe exposure, the microglia will just back off and the fear can come right back, which is something known as spontaneous recovery. Okay, moving on to section 4, pruning the memory branches. Because look, if we want to truly conquer a fear, a temporary shush just isn't gonna cut it. Beyond the main control room, the microglia also travel out to the dendrites. You can think of dendrites and synapses as the branches and wires connecting the whole memory circuit together. This is where the actual physical hardwiring of the fear lives. Out here, the microglia literally eat or prune the dendritic connections. They do this using complement proteins, which basically act like tiny molecular eat-me tags. The microglia spot these tags on the fear connections and literally digest them. Guys, this isn't just silencing the memory, this is physically dismantling it. So the really crucial point here is this beautiful contrast in the two-part mechanism. You have temporary silencing at the main control room versus permanent structural unlearning out on the branches. First, the microglia rush to the soma to quickly dial down the fear. Then, over time, they move out to the dendrites to permanently snip away the hardwired connections. It's just a stunningly elegant biological mechanism for healing.
All right, Section 5, Proving the Mechanism.
But as scientists, we always have to ask, how do we actually know these tiny gardeners are responsible for the unlearning? Well, scientists prove this by testing mice, using special techniques to chemogenetically inhibit, basically temporarily turn off, or completely deplete their microglia. They also tested what happens if you block that eat me tag system directly on the engram neurons.
The results? Completely striking. When microglia were blocked, or when the pruning process was stopped, the mice showed highly elevated freezing behavior. The data clearly shows that without these tiny cellular gardeners snipping away the connections, the mice couldn't unlearn the fear. They went through the exact same safe exposure training, but their brains were physically incapable of dismantling the trauma.
Which brings us to Section 6, why this matters. Let's bring this all together and highlight exactly why this matters for us and how it completely changes the way we view our own brains. This research brilliantly illustrates that our brain's immune cells aren't just fighting infections. They're actively shaping our circuits and allowing us to move past traumatic events. We used to think that memory and learning were strictly the domain of neurons, but this proves that in a healthy adult brain, immune cells are the vital sculptors of our emotional landscape. They literally provide the actual physical mechanism that allows us to extinguish fear.
Which leaves us with a really profound question to ponder. If we can learn to control these microscopic gardeners, could we one day prune away the roots of severe human trauma? I mean, imagine a future where PTSD or severe phobias could be treated by gently encouraging our own immune cells to trim away the fearful connections. It's an incredible frontier in neuroscience, proving once again just how dynamic and resilient our brains truly are. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep staying curious about the incredible machinery inside your own head.